I remember when I was about 5 years old and my mom, dad, and I were visiting my aunt and my uncle at their home. I felt really comfortable around this part of my extended family and enjoyed playing with my two cousins, who are just a little younger than I am. And then someone I didn't know came into the house for a visit. I was so afraid of this person that I held on tight to my father's arm and tried to burrow into the couch cushions behind him. I'm sure the adults in the room had a really good laugh at my reaction. Why was I so afraid? Fear of the unknown? Fear of not being accepted? Fear of what? I can't tell you all these years later, yet I was so afraid that they couldn't coax me out from behind my dad for quite a while. Fear is part of being human. It can be profound in how it shapes each of us and our behavior, impacting how we respond to situations and to people for decades beyond the initial fear. It makes me think of the shepherds in the Nativity story. They were so afraid when the angels appeared. Maybe some of them ran and hid. Maybe some were frozen with fear, and maybe some turned their fear into curiosity. How did their fearful experience impact them for the rest of their lives? We'll never know. 1 Peter chapter 3, verses 13 through 15 talks about fear. Now, who will harm you if you are eager to do what is good? But even if you do suffer for doing what is right, you are blessed. Do not fear what they fear, and do not be intimidated, but in your hearts sanctify Christ as Lord. Always be ready to make your defense to anyone who demands from you an accounting for the hope that is in you. Yet do it with gentleness and respect. Hope. Hope is what can overcome fear. Fear often causes us to retract physically and emotionally. We hold on to whatever we can. We hide, just like I held on to my dad and tried to hide behind him in the couch cushions. Fear can keep us from giving completely from the heart. Hope opens us to creative possibilities, opens our hearts to be filled by the overwhelming love of Christ. I was in a meeting recently where a beautiful graphic by Jan Richardson called The Best Supper was used as a Visio Divina for our meditation and discussion. As I looked at the graphic, I was fascinated by the variety of colors selected by the artist and diversity of the participants around the table. Even the cat was welcome at the table. All these different people from unique backgrounds sitting at one table, breaking bread together, sharing in conversations, listening to each other. It's an example of what truly living in sacred community looks like. No fear. This picture filled me with hope. Sacred community. It reminds me of Doctrine and Covenants, section 164, verse 9, B and C. When your willingness to live in sacred community as Christ's new creation exceeds your natural fear of spiritual and relational transformation, you will become who you are called to be. The rise of Zion the Beautiful, the peaceful reign of Christ, awaits your wholehearted response to the call to make and steadfastly hold to God's covenant of peace in Jesus Christ. This covenant entails sacramental living that respects and reveals God's presence and reconciling activity in creation. It requires whole life stewardship dedicated to expanding the church's restoring ministries, especially those devoted to asserting the worth of persons, protecting the sacredness of creation, and relieving physical and spiritual suffering. Sacramental living requires that we practice whole life stewardship. This is the journey that we take in response to the call to make and steadfastly hold to God's covenant of peace in Jesus Christ. It means we share our time, talent, testimony, and treasure, living a life of Christ-like generosity, without fear, with hope. Your local ministries and the global ministries of Community of Christ offer the hope of Jesus Christ to a world too often living in fear? Will you share your treasure and financially support the hope-filled ministries of Community of Christ locally and around the world? You can give by check or cash, or you can go online to seaofchrist.org and click on the word Give in the upper right-hand corner of the screen. The money received today will help to cover the expenses of this congregation, your mission center, and worldwide mission ties. So how will you fearlessly and generously share? Who will you invite to the table to share in conversation and to listen? To whom will you offer hope in response to fear?